How did you feel on your first day of school? I think very few people can actually remember that moment clearly, but for Katie Heron, that experience was nothing short of a nightmare. North Shore High School, where you can't even get a seat in the cafeteria unless you know the rules, and one small mistake is enough to make the queen bee fall to being invisible after just one lunch. From the moment it premiered, Mean Girls quickly became a pop culture phenomenon and the perfect case study for many topics in modern psychology research. The school world at North Shore is a unique social laboratory where individuals constantly adjust their behavior to be accepted and liked, or at the very least, not pushed to the fringes of society. What did Katie do to survive and even become the most popular girl in school? In a society where recognition is more important than personal identity, should we be ourselves or live with a completely different persona just to fit in? Today, let's follow Katie as she takes an introductory course in behavioral psychology at North Shore to see why Mean Girls is still considered one of the most classic teen movies of all time. Our story begins with Katie Heron, a girl who was homeschooled until she was 16 because her parents were zoologists working in Africa. Things take a turn when her mother returns to the U.S. to teach at Northwestern University. Katie tentatively steps into life just like any other teenager at North Shore. After a lonely first day, she befriends Janice and Damien, and they quickly become close. Unexpectedly, Regina George, the leader of the school's popular girl group called the Plastics, takes an interest in Katie and recruits her into the group. Regina acts kind when she finds out Katie has a crush on Aaron, her ex-boyfriend, but then blatantly kisses him and publicly gets back together with him at the Halloween party. Having once been victims of Regina's insults, Janice and Damien come up with a plan to help Katie secretly take down Regina and the Plastics. Katie's unique background makes her a blank slate, perfectly unblemished, to experience and measure the realities of society as someone with absolutely no prior experience. Katie is like a young rabbit raised in a lovely little garden, and now, due to circumstances, she has to step into the tropical jungle with its countless unique rules. But precisely because of that, she is the ideal character to expose the complex ecosystem of the high school environment, where social behavior is constantly being learned, practiced, and challenged. With her background of living in wildlife reserves in Africa, Katie quickly draws parallels between the students at North Shore and wild animals. They like to gather in groups and sometimes behave aggressively. Competition and territorial disputes happen openly, and the students are always ready to fight for their place and recognition from the crowd. They are at an age where they crave to assert their self-worth and can easily get into fights if their pride is hurt. Like anyone new entering a crowded group, Katie struggled to find her place in a space that was already cramped and chaotic. She was constantly teased and ended up having lunch in the girls' bathroom because she couldn't find a suitable place to sit. Her first day of school ended in tears and frustration because Katie had no idea about the rules of this new environment. That's when Janice and Damien showed up, the first people to notice her. Katie felt like a drowning person grabbing onto a lifeline. She was so happy to have new friends that she even skipped gym class. The two friends invited her to ditch class so they could help her understand the school's social hierarchy. The cafeteria space was designed to reflect the social structure and psychology of the characters. It's so complicated that Janice had to painstakingly draw an incredibly detailed map just so Katie could grasp the basics. The cafeteria is divided into different areas for different groups. Where you sit at lunch is extremely important because that's how you show which group you belong to. The Plastics sit in the center, surrounded by the jock guys, the athletic girls, and the rock music fans. The less attractive or nerdy groups are pushed to the edges of the cafeteria. This layout is like a political map of the school, and if you want to get in, you have to be invited. Among them, the Plastics stand out the most. As Damien puts it, if North Shore were America's weekly magazine, they'd always be on the cover. One interesting aspect of Mean Girls is how the director uses lighting as a tool to amplify the character's status. In almost every scene where the Plastics appear together, they're usually bathed in a bright, smooth light, almost like stage lighting. Their makeup, hair color, and outfits make them look like perfect Barbie dolls stepping right out of the cover of a famous fashion magazine. The low camera angles make us look up at them from an inferior position, and that's exactly how all the other groups feel when they look at the plastics. Meanwhile, characters like Janice, Damien, or the students in the math club are often shown in shadowy, cold lighting, hinting at their invisibility within the social hierarchy. Director Mark Waters' intentional use of lighting reflects the social aura that the characters are chasing after. At North Shore, attractiveness is the ultimate power, and the one who makes the rules is also the one who always gets the best seat in the cafeteria. The plastics represent every standard and rule at North Shore, with members who are 3 wealthy, beautiful girls. They exist thanks to being admired, envied, and even feared by others, yet people still long to be part of their group. On the other side of the story, Katie's arrival stirs up just as much buzz. Everyone wants to know where she came from, which group she belongs to, and how much influence she has. In theory, there are 2 groups ready to welcome Katie, the kids in the math club because she's an excellent student, and second, Janice and Damien's group, both of which are relatively unattractive and not particularly remarkable. In other words, they belong to the below-average group in society, the kind that no one really pays attention to. But maybe that's exactly why they're the perfect starting point for Katie to learn about everything. In his analysis of social dynamics in Mean Girls, author Visakan Virasmy suggests that the rest of the movie could easily have played out with Katie happily joining the math club, becoming friends with Janice and Damien, and ending with a sweet message about true friendship. But things quickly escalate into conflict because Katie is actually pretty unattractive, even though she's not sensitive enough to realize it herself. This is the point that creates the conflict and serves as the foundation for the entire story. Katie's attractiveness makes her a threat to the plastics. Regina George, the leader, immediately picked up on it. Inviting Katie to sit at their table wasn't just a polite gesture, it would be too careless to let Katie roam free. By bringing her into the group, Regina could keep her enemy close and manipulate her as she pleased. Pay close attention to the very first conversation between the 2 of them.
You're like really pretty.
Thank you.
So you agree?
What?
You think you're really pretty.
This is completely Regina's test to see how socially savvy Katie is. Will she be as clueless as Karen, as gossipy as Gretchen, or as dangerous as Regina herself? But Katie isn't exactly like any of them. She's smart, has self-respect, and is innocent enough at first not to realize she's a rival for Regina's queen bee status. Regina quickly recruits Katie and emphasizes that it's an unprecedented move, making Katie feel truly special. The need to belong or the need for connection is ranked 3rd in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He believed that after our basic physical needs and the need for safe shelter are met, each of us has a desire to be accepted and loved in our relationships with others. This longing is strongest in adolescence. Because that's when we're trying to find our place and belong to the group we think fits us best, in order to assert ourselves. Katie longs to be close to Regina even though, deep down, she knows she hates someone as arrogant as her. The allure of power and status often makes us set aside our reason and true identity just to be accepted. Even if the price to pay is becoming a completely different person. Still, we often think it's worth it because we believe we're moving toward a higher, better version of ourselves. This psychological behavior has appeared in many other films like The Great Gatsby, The Talented Mr. Ripley, American Psycho, or The Devil Wears Prada. Regina isn't just the queen bee with her attractive looks, designer clothes, and luxury car. More importantly, she's mastered the social language of high school to the point where she manipulates it like a CEO. Regina doesn't play to make friends, she plays to maintain her dominance, where she's the center and everyone else is just a satellite orbiting around her. Regina understands everyone's insecurities and anxieties, and she uses their darkest secrets as leverage to manipulate the emotions of others. And Gretchen is the perfect example. Gretchen is the type of person who craves recognition but doesn't have enough confidence to be the one in charge. She is easily manipulated by Regina and ends up emotionally dependent on her. That's when a person has to rely on someone else to satisfy their own emotional needs, willing to do anything just to be acknowledged by the person they consider important. Gretchen is always trying to be useful by being the trendy, know-it-all girl. Sadly, her blind loyalty is met with Regina's control and disdain. Regina simply sees Gretchen as a servant, while Karen Smith is just a pretty face to add to her own glamorous image. Karen represents the clueless one who doesn't understand social rules, but is lucky enough to be an essential part of the group because of her striking looks. Karen does everything simply because Regina tells her to. In Mean Girls, mirrors aren't just for the girls to touch up their lipstick, they're also tools for them to reflect on themselves. For Gretchen and Karen, the mirror reveals every flaw they think doesn't measure up to the invisible standards set by the plastics. As for Regina, she looks in the mirror to make sure her queen bee image is still running smoothly. She often checks out her whole body and seems satisfied with it. For Katie, as she steps into the world of the plastics, the mirror gradually becomes a mini stage where she practices fitting in, and it slowly turns into something she can't live without. The body language in Mean Girls lets viewers know who's the queen and who's a follower, even without any dialogue. Regina walks as if she's on a catwalk, slow and graceful, in everyone else's mind. With her shoulders open and her head slightly tilted, she's just glamorous enough to draw attention, and sharp enough to be intimidating. That's the walk of someone who confidently controls the situation. Gretchen, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, with her shoulders often hunched in worry. Her eyes are always looking up at Regina, waiting for instructions. Karen stands unsteadily, reflecting the uncertainty of a character who lacks direction and just goes along with others. Katie starts off with an awkward walk, like a disconnected figure in the group's picture. But once she learns the rules of the game, she strides confidently in high heels, her gaze straight ahead. Katie's position in the frame also changes. She no longer fades into the margins but gradually moves toward the center. At first, Katie simply wanted to survive and make friends, but life doesn't work just by being nice. Take a look at Katie's reaction when Regina suddenly kisses Aaron, the guy Katie secretly likes. Regina recognized the threat named Katie, and like a true predator by instinct, she struck first to crush her rival. In a world where Regina is so used to winning, she never imagined that anyone would dare to stand up to her. If it were Gretchen or Karen, that would be a signal for them to quietly back off. They convinced themselves that Regina deserved that guy more than they did, but Katie wasn't the type to obediently submit to such tyranny. She was curious and questioned everything instead of quietly staying within the boundaries set by the plastics. Katie wanted to reclaim fairness, even if it meant going up against Regina, something Gretchen or Karen wouldn't dare to even think about, or were too scared to do. To her, that kiss wasn't just about romance, it was a clear act of provocation. Regina never anticipated that Katie, the new African girl, still wet behind the ears at school, would have enough grit and smarts to fight back. And with that, the game officially entered a new chapter. In Mean Girls, clothing and colors appear as tools of socialization, an unofficial uniform that helps distinguish between different groups. Katie's scary Halloween costume made her stand out awkwardly from all the other girls at the party, highlighting her social cluelessness in the first half of the movie. Meanwhile, the plastics are mainly concerned with maintaining an attractive appearance and use the feminine color pink as their symbol. When she first joined the group, Katie didn't even own a single pink shirt and had to borrow Damien's oversized t-shirt to fit in. When a character like Katie starts wearing pink, she's not just changing her style, she's showing adaptive behavior in order to be accepted. The sexy strapless dress with shiny pink stripes at the house party marks Katie's transformation from an outsider to a mean girl. With the analytical mindset of a math whiz, Katie not only learns the rules of the game but picks them up so quickly that even Janice is surprised. The girl who once looked lost in the cafeteria now knows how to dress up, attract the attention of a guy, and even play dirty against someone she dislikes. Katie seamlessly transforms from a top student to a member of the plastics, and then struggles to return to being herself. She dives in and experiments with different versions of herself to find the best way to live in a complicated environment. But anyone who enters the power game without a moral compass will eventually lose their way. Katie ended up regretting losing too many things along that journey, including herself and genuine friendship. When Janice and Damien came up with the plan for Katie to sabotage the plastics, they thought she would always stay the simple girl, immune to the allure of popularity. But they lost Katie to someone who knew exactly how to tap into her invisible needs, to be noticed, to step into a more elite world. Janice isn't as indifferent as her cold exterior suggests. As Katie gradually changed for the worse, she was genuinely hurt. Even those who stand on the sidelines still carry a desire to connect. They just don't want to get their hearts broken by trusting the wrong person. Behind Regina's dominance isn't absolute confidence. Regina understands other people's fears and insecurities because she lives with them herself. Regina is obsessed with her weight and controls the amount of sugar in everything she eats. That's exactly the weakness that Katie and Janice took advantage of. As for Gretchen and Karen, they're simply people who don't have opinions of their own. They were isolated within the plastics and got used to letting Regina handle everything. This explains why they immediately started following Katie after Regina was kicked out of the group. The school's elite group actually revolved around just one person, Regina, the one who made all the rules. The burn book, the book Regina created to shame all the girls, wasn't just for entertainment. It was a ticking time bomb that Regina could use to blame anyone who dared to betray her. The scene where the girls at school break out into chaos after the burn book is revealed is a metaphor for the destructive power of toxic words and the need for validation. Regina no longer needed to give orders or manipulate anyone, because the girls were already sensitive enough to fall apart and collapse under the weight of prejudice on their own. For many girls at the school, their personal image was what defined their self-worth. When that image was publicly smeared, everyone was ready to explode in order to protect their threatened sense of self. And in the end, there was no earth-shattering showdown between the two queen bees, just a bus that suddenly appeared, like a random act of cosmic punishment, and slammed into Regina. That near-fatal accident didn't change Regina's personality, but it was enough to make her decide to leave the game. The whole school came to give Regina flowers, filling her room and making her happier than ever. For the first time, she received attention from other students, even though she was in a pretty miserable state. Regina decided to channel her energy into something new by joining the hockey team, where she became a star player. Meanwhile, Katie bravely stood up and admitted that she was the author of the burn book, since the police had come to the school after rumors spread that the principal was dealing drugs. In a school world built on pretense and prejudice, Katie's actions took many of the other girls by surprise. They realized that even if they hadn't personally written in the burn book, they had still indirectly taken part in the plastics clique games and turned North Shaw into a battlefield. In the end, Katie became the spring fling queen. But by then, she no longer craved it like she once did. Katie's act of breaking the crown and sharing it with all the girls symbolizes her desire to break the hierarchy that had ruled the lives of North Shaw students. Instead of becoming part of a worshipped elite group, Katie gives up the queen title and celebrates the unique value of each individual, as well as friendship and unity. Each student becomes stronger when they have friends to support, share with, and lift them up, instead of putting each other down for silly reasons. Mean Girls is an introductory course in psychology and behavior within a competitive social environment. It's a course that everyone goes through when they leave their safe space and step into a larger social circle. The way it tackles the tough issues of school life through a humorous lens and a unique script has helped the film maintain its status as the queen of teen movies. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching until the very last moment. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and leave your thoughts in the comments below to let us know. And now, goodbye and see you next time.
May the Force be with you.
I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse.
Play it as time goes by.
Have her veer, baby.
Psychology and behavior within a competitive social environment. It's a course that everyone goes through when they leave their safe space and step into a larger social circle. The way it tackles the tough issues of school life through a humorous lens and a unique script has helped the film maintain its status as the queen of teen movies. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching until the very last moment. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and leave your thoughts in the comments below to let us know. And now, Goodbye and see you next time.
May the force be with you.
I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse.
Play it as time goes by.
Have a view, baby.